just for those of you out there. Krista Grandy's on the line here. She's just remote. She's not feeling too hot. She's done these in the past with us. But please mute your line. If you have a question, feel free to throw it right into the chat room. We are going to record this so people can listen at their, whenever they have the available time, because it sounds like there's some midterms going on, which I don't envy you guys. But we really appreciate you jumping on. It looks like we've got some folks from Villanova, University of Tampa. Awesome. I saw Ryerson on there earlier. Let's see, Ryerson University in Toronto. Awesome. Let's see, JMU, James Madison. And SNU, we've got Southern New Hampshire University. Excellent. Our Chief Revenue Officer is actually an alum from Southern New Hampshire University. Just a little fact about Carousel. And our CEO is a Bryant alum. So, so thanks for joining. I'm Michelle Prisbeck. I'm sitting here with Steve Augustine. I'm the one of the directors of the Inside Sales team here in the Northeast. We're right out of Windsor, Connecticut, and I have a long-standing history in sales. And I got to attend this competition last year for the first time and was extremely impressed with not only the work that you all put into it, especially the team that coordinates everything, but the fact of how impressive you guys are when you actually get in there and sell this. It's good stuff to see.
Perfect. My name is Steve Augustine. Been with Carousel now 12 years. Grew up in sales with Carousel. Run a inside sales team here as well as a director. This is going to be my first year participating in the competition. I look forward to watching you guys do your thing and seeing who potential new talent out there for next year, babe.
Yeah. So some of the things we love is that a lot of the people that we bring in from our teams who do this actually participated in NISC in previous years. So they like going in as they get to see it from a different perspective now, which is excellent. So it looks like we're good to go with schools on there. We're going to get started. We did have one call already, and I know that recording is up on the website for people to listen to if you have missed that. As part of that, we did a review of the case study. So I guess I just want to open it up right now. So we've got the Carousel company overview. Does anyone have any questions on that? If we just open it up to questions real quick on anything that we reviewed previously, we're more than happy to address those, and feel free to throw those right into the chat room, and we can go through them for you. So nothing yet. So, Krista, why don't we scroll through and just go, so we've got the overview of Carousel, and again, all of this is ways to build rapport. So, Stephanie, that's from you. Do you want us to review that with them?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I just unmuted myself. Some of my students were asking me today, they said they were really struggling to try to find out how do you build rapport. We only have 10 minutes. What's the most effective way? If you're not supposed to talk about the weather, what are some ways in this situation that would be really effective and a good use of your time that would kind of check all the boxes that they need to be successful?
Awesome, thank you. So one of the things we actually threw into the case study, if you look at it, there's the way that this opportunity comes about, and it actually comes about through a networking meeting of two folks. One is at the law firm, and one is...
And then the last question you asked at the beginning of the meeting is, what would happen if you didn't figure out a cost-effective solution?
Do you guys mind just going on mute for us? And then if you have questions, feel free to throw them right into the chat room. So the opportunity came about through a conversation that these two people actually had over drinks in a networking meeting from, I believe, their undergrad school. And they were there just at a cocktail party and having a conversation about the fact that one of the attorneys at the firm had noticed that they had a major outage. It caused this a lot of complications with the business itself, and contacting their clients. And that alone, if you reference that meeting, hey, you know, so-and-so actually came to me and I mentioned that we do this, but they came to me looking for some help, and that's who made the introduction here. So you always want to try to refer back to that personal connection that you have, because if there's a personal connection there, it's going to automatically put you in a better place than not knowing anyone or anything about it. And then you can also talk to Carousel and the work that we've done. So if you think about Carousel in general, we are Avaya's Partner of the Year in 2018 overall. So we have a lot of accolades to speak to. We've got a long 25-year history in the industry, best of breeds. We work with a lot of the ones, sorry, I'm just getting pinged here with some questions. We work with a lot of the partners and customers out there on similar solutions, and we have a proven track record of success. So those are things that you can do to actually build rapport. I think the key to this one is to remember that you actually got this meeting by knowing someone within the firm, okay, because that's going to help you build that rapport.
Yep, that's a good point.
Let me jump back in here real quick, just because I want to see if there's any other questions. Okay, so what differentiates Carousel from other IT consulting management integration services?
I'll handle that one. All right, well, the differentiation with Carousel is the fact that we can be that one partner for all their technology needs. We're not only a communications company, we also handle networking, security, AV video, full cloud services, managed services. So unlike other partners that only handle one or two of those, we can handle them all, and competently we can handle them all. We also have the experience to handle organizations from small to the very largest. So that really differentiates us in the industry, because not anybody can just say that.
Yeah, that's great. I think another question you guys had is looking into other law firms that Carousel works with, we're actually not going to give you specific real-life examples, because we'd have to have their permission to disclose that information. But what we can do is think about it, make something up. You know, come up with your own little testimonial that just says, hey, you know, we worked with this firm and this solution. So this is very common. It's very common that, you know, law firms aren't necessarily technologically savvy, or they're trying to get up to date with some of the Fortune 100 companies out there. So it's not an unusual situation that we're finding, and a lot of people are looking more at that OpEx versus CapEx model, where they're trying to they're trying to simplify things, because they have fewer people to manage the technology, but there's more technology to manage, so you have to do more with less.
To add to that, feel free to go to Carousel's website. We do have a section with case studies on it. Off the top of my head, I can't remember if we have one that specifically would work with this, but feel free to ad-lib where needed. Yeah.
And then someone asked a question about the size of the company. So how does Augustine, Grandy, and West fall into our client size? So we actually, at Carousel, we focus on anywhere. We have customers all the way from SMB, so small businesses, to Fortune 100. We actually have 35 of the Fortune 100.
35 of the Fortune 100.
35 of the Fortune 100 companies out there are our customers. Which is another thing that actually differentiates us, if we touch back to earlier. So I would say we focus more on that mid-market enterprise level versus the small business, but Augustine, Grandy, and West would actually fall more into that mid-market section for us.
Yes.
So it's our sweet spot, actually. Okay, are you guys, is that good for questions for the Carousel overview? Are you guys good with that?
Perfect. Let's move on.
Hi, Michelle.
All right.
There's a couple more.
There's a few more.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's a
I'm just going to, Krista, I'm going to look right into the chat room, I think. Oh, here we go. Give us a sec, sorry. We did that. What sort of measurable quantifiable benefits are revealed during the demo, which takes place prior to round 3? What specific business outcomes can students reference during their round 3 role play? Okay, so if you're looking at the challenges that the customer has, and we're looking at disparate systems everywhere, so what that really means is they have old phone systems that are in some cases no longer even sold, supported, or anything. You're buying, if something breaks, the partner has to go out on eBay to support it. just to get a part to work. It's like having an old Walkman or something that you can't, I'm dating myself there, that you can't really figure out how to fix. But so what that allows them to do is the demo is going to show them the simplification that this one unified system brings. Not only does it show them that, it demonstrates that you're going to get one simple bill versus having those 5 or 6 separate contracts to manage, so separate partners to manage, separate bills to pay, separate upgrades to do if it was available, separate outages to worry about. You're going to have that one simplified management system where you can actually get a holistic view of every system functioning at one time.
Also, I want to get so caught up on the quantifiable, because when you're talking about unified communications and collaboration, it's a lot on the user experience.
Right.
You're talking about satisfaction of the users, how they personally feel about the tools they're using. So it's more of a discussion around the human aspect of it than it is really the hard numbers of it.
Yeah. Someone asked if you're going to get penalized by sharing a testimonial that they made up. No, really, this is you got to be creative here, right? So, I mean, if you're putting statistics out there, you want to make sure that they make sense, obviously. But as far as a law firm, you can make up a name, just like this one was made up, right? Make up a name that Carousel worked with, similar solution, things like that. And as long as you can speak to that and actually have a little background on it, it's not going to penalize you at all. It's going to benefit you.
Yes.
Carousel is one of the 7 partners to sell their BroadCloud product. I was told. Why would someone choose Carousel over the other partners? Okay, so out of the 7, that's a really good question, and I can repeat that. So Carousel is one of 7 Cisco partners to sell their BroadCloud product. Why would someone choose Carousel over the other partners? So interesting fact, that is absolutely true. 5 of the 7 partners are actually service providers. So think your large AT&Ts, your Verizons, your Frontiers, the companies that you absolutely hate calling when you have an issue because it's impossible to get to the right person. The other partner that we are in competition with, they're very similar to Carousel, a little bit larger than Carousel, but they struggle with their support. You're really going to need to go in and differentiate us based on the fact that we have local support. 60%, I would say 60% of our employees are actually more support and service focused. So we're not a sales heavy organization, and we're not going out there just to sell something and then walk away. So really our competition is one other partner, because we don't see the other service providers as often, specifically because they're just too big and not a lot of customers, especially a customer the size of Augustine Grandia West, they won't want to work with a company that large because they're going to be low man on the totem pole when it comes to getting a response. What is the pricing for the solution? Is it based on number of users, total number of employees? Is there a contract for the subscription? Is there any money-back guarantee?
There's SLAs.
Yeah, so we have SLAs, which are service-level agreements. I believe we actually have pricing right in the case study, if I remember correctly. We do. So for the finals, and you only need the pricing for the final round, so there is pricing right in the case study. It is based on the length of the contract. It's also based on the number of users and the type of licensing. But in this case, we kept it very simple. Everyone's using a standard license. And we were going with either a 3-year term of $6,400 per month, so meaning a total contract value of $230,400, or a 5-year term of $6,200 a month for a total contract value of $372,000. We did that because I want you to see the benefit of going with a longer-term contract versus the shorter-term contract, because there's going to be some additional incentives to extend that. And yes, we do have service-level agreements, which I guess goes along with a money-back guarantee. If we're not responding within a certain amount of time, we'd be in violation of a contract. And
credits where credits are due.
Yeah, exactly. It does note, by the way, that there's additional installation and handsets. So if they're going to order actual handsets, there's additional charges that go along with that. And that's really the installation fee that's listed there, which is an additional $167. That's a one-time fee. let's see, if we cannot have Michelle agree to a 3 or 5 year contract, I know that Carousel does offer shorter contracts. What would be the cost for a 1 or 2 year contract if that's all she will commit to? That is not all she's going to commit to. I can confirm that. You are either going to be selling a 3 or 5 year contract, and that is your objective. You do not need to go for a shorter term. We're not going to have pricing available for that, and don't go in and try to sell a shorter term. You're going in for that 3 or 5 year, okay? And then that will be what you're closing. All right, Krista,
Should we move to the next slide?
are there any other ones, or is that it?
That is it for the questions at this time.
Okay. So is that good for the case study as well? Are we good with the scenario, or do you guys have questions on that? I know that some of those questions actually touched on that, so I just want to make sure we're covering all of our bases here. Let's see. One of AGW's partner declined to renew a contract due to the age of their systems in the case. How does Carousel work with companies with old infrastructure? Great question, actually.
Okay.
We're looking at doing, I don't want to say a rip and replace, because the benefit of moving to something like Unite, which is what this case study is about, it allows us to keep what they have in place. We can get the system fully configured and set up, and then migrate the users from one to the other. So we can do all the training ahead of time. It's not as much of a hot cut. You can actually move, certain departments at any given time, things like that. But it actually makes it a lot less intrusive to the user experience.
Exactly. And the systems they currently have, they are different providers, so they don't speak to each other anyways.
Right.
So we can replace the oldest one first. We wait to their next time frame to do the next system, Depending on where contracts are and what their needs are, we can be flexible.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing. So Carousel probably wouldn't support these systems either because they are so old.
Yes.
So it works out to their advantage that they can keep these in place. They're functioning currently. There are other partners. They can continue relying on the other partners until the Unite solution's in place, and then we can actually move them from one system to the other and do a cutover that way. How long would it take to install a product like Carousel Unite in a company the size of AGW? Also, does Carousel Unite do a trial run like the Umbrella product? So we're going to do a demo, not necessarily a trial run. But with a demo, you don't necessarily have a phone sitting on your desk, but we could actually bring someone into one of our offices where we could have a functioning phone, or you can actually see it work online with some of our engineers, which is what would happen in this case study. Our engineers would actually show them and walk them through how it would all actually function. And when we see a demo, it's very similar to Umbrella, which is what you guys did last year, but you're not actually running it on site for the customer. We're on their network. You're actually running it through a demo system, and then the customer is getting a view of that.
Exactly. And there was a question around how long would the cutover take?
How long would it take to install a product like Carousel Unite for this specific company?
What it'll come down to is we'd be building their cloud solution in the back end while they're currently running on their system. And then over a weekend, we can go in there, place all the sets, get them up and running. Day one, we can train their staff, and they're off to run.
Really, they would have very minimal what we would call downtime because we're just cutting from one to the other, so this is an ideal situation versus having to do an upgrade where you'd have more downtime. So it allows us to move them from one to the other. You might have 3 hours, 4 hours of downtime versus 2 days of downtime. But, I mean, there's a lot of planning that goes into place leading up to the installation. So you have project management that gets involved. You have to go through and take a look at what they have today. You have to do things like dial plans. What are their, you guys don't really need to know all this, by the way. We're getting a little bit into the weeds here, but you'd have things like dial plans, like how do you communicate between the different offices? Do they have the ability to dial 4 numbers for a 4-digit dial? versus having to dial a full phone number, things like that. So depending on what Augustine, Granby, and West would want to do, it could take 2 weeks. It could take 2 or 3 months. It depends on how complicated they want to make it, but really that the customer would lead that, and it can be pretty simple.
Definitely.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, is there a hybrid model that enables AGW to take some of their current infrastructure while slowly integrating Carousel's technology? So they wouldn't be able to keep it and use it with Unite, meaning it wouldn't be integrated with Unite. However, they could keep it up and running until they are fully functioning on Unite.
Yes.
And then they would throw the other stuff out.
And they could do staged one site, next site, next site. It's not all 3
Right.
sites at the same time.
Right. So you can migrate, Chicago first or New York first, whatever the case, whoever the guinea pig's going to be, and then do it office by office. It doesn't have to all be done in one weekend, but you would not be able to reuse like some of their phones, things like that, for any of these systems, just because they're so outdated. There are some other solutions where it might work, but not in this instance. Anything else? I know we do want to get into some how to handle objections. So it looks like we have one more here. So if they're in a contract, is that a problem? Like one location has a 2-year with another vendor, is that a problem for this sale? Meaning a support contract. A lot of these, I have to look back. I don't think they actually have. If they have,
term limit?
they have multiple contracts, no term limits. It shouldn't be an issue. I think these systems are so outdated, and that happens all the time. Usually there's an out clause, or maybe sometimes, like in this one, the money that they're going to be saving, actually migrating, going from what they had before and the risk it puts their business in to a solution like Carousel Unite, it should be a non-issue. Meaning, if they have a year left on that contract, which we don't have any specifics in here for you guys to actually focus on, but it should be a non-issue. Like if they have a year they have to say goodbye to, I don't think it'd be an issue.
Yeah.
We got one more. Oh, that's it. All right, perfect.
Okay.
Let's move on then. Okay, so we're going to focus on objection handling. And we've got a couple things we're going through here. So, Krista, do you want to skip that first one? Is that what you were looking to do?
I think we'll start off pain point number
I guess we're going
one.
to start with pain points. We're going to skip over the
Sorry, I was just trying to talk. Yes, we're going to start off with pain points. These pain points, by the way, are in the materials that are on the website.
Okay, thank you. For those of you that can't tell, poor Krista's homesick today. You want to
So perfect.
kick it off?
This slide shows the pain points of the executives, what they are concerned with. And that includes,
Mobile workspace, yeah.
dispersed workspace, responsive, connected, and productive. Need competitive advantages while getting the fastest return on technology investments, spending money on communication tools that my staff will use and appreciate. Use my capital to develop my business instead of paying for a phone system.
I think that's the key at the bottom there.
Absolutely.
So when you're at an executive level, a lot of time it's a cost savings thing. They're really focused on the financials. And in this instance, they're moving from a CapEx model to an OpEx model because it's not going to be an on-prem phone system. It's really going to be more focused on cloud, and it allows them to reinvest that money into building their business and their employees versus on technology.
Any questions on this slide?
Then we got the financial aspect again, the same thing. So we can talk. We've already spoken to this one a little bit, but they have to keep. So if you think about maintaining multiple contracts, if you think about having disparate systems, you also have to keep typically staff on hand to manage those systems. Now, in some instances, it doesn't exist here, but in others, it does. And and when you're involved in having an actual body on site to do that, you're involved in benefits. There's a lot of expenses versus just salary to actually to think about. It makes it hard to predict how much they're going to spend because they don't know how their system is going to be supported. Their system could crash tomorrow, and they have no idea if they're going to be able to actually get it back up because of the age of the system.
Also, a big point I want to touch on is really the carousel value prop is
Yep.
one company to talk to for all your needs.
Right.
The last point, I have too many communication vendors, too many contracts to do for each one of the locations. Brings it down to one contract to manage, one company to talk to. That is huge for finance.
You're going to have one phone number to call. You're also going to have your escalation points. One thing you'll find about Carousel is even though we have 1,300 employees, our chief executive officers actually sit down with our customers and want to get to know your business, want to get to know those pain points. And as we say, we're customer success obsessed. We actually really, really value our customers. We have a 93% customer retention rate, which is unheard of in our industry. So it just shows that we really focus on our customers' needs. We also have our Network Operations Center, which is open 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. You have that one phone number to call. So no matter where your issue is, you call that one phone number or go on our website, and you will have that one person to talk to within our Network Operations Center. It says there's a knock video on the web page that you guys have if they want to actually go through it and take a look. Okay, so we've got some IT pain points, which get a little bit fun.
Yeah.
So one of the concerns, obviously, when it comes to you're talking to technology professionals, is they want to make sure that it's not making their life more complicated, meaning it's not going to keep them up at night, right?
Exactly. Their responsibility is to keep it running. And the last thing they want to do is get a call in the middle of the night saying the system is down. So making their life easy is key, and that comes with the deployment of the solution, which Unite, we handle all the configurations on the back end, then deployment is simple for them. Also, there's no needs for doing integration on their behalf because we've already had those integrations built into our Unite platform for their current CRMs, email, and directory.
Think about how simple it is to use your cell phone, right? You want that one easy button to contact somebody. This solution, unlike their old ones that they had because they were so outdated, allows them to a click to dial right from their Outlook, or it will ring their laptop, it will ring their cell phone, it will ring their desk phone all at the same time. So you're going to be reachable no matter where you go, and that's cohesive amongst all of their locations. So if you have one person transfer from one or is traveling from one place to the other, one office to the other, they can plug and play, and they don't have to worry about programming changes to make sure that their phone rings in the next spot, or having a different phone number assigned and call forwarding something to a new phone number like we would in the old days.
Definitely. And the last bullet point is one that doesn't fully make sense. I had to read it twice myself to sort of understand what we're getting at there. But when it comes down to it, if their users are using different platforms on their own, example, just simple as texting back and forth with the client, that can have security risks, can have problems with compliances.
Yep.
So keeping it all in the system, keeping them using all the tools provided by Unite will be crucial to the business and make it easier for IT to secure the environment and lock down any potential risks. Yeah,
there's constant security risks with any technology, right? We all know that. We face it. There's ransomware out there. People try to hack your laptops, whatever the case. There's also things when it comes to there's laws in place to protect people with regards to 911 calls and things like that. When you have a system out there that can't keep up with those, meaning the programming just doesn't work, it's not functioning properly, it causes an issue because now there's legal risks involved of the technology that you have on site. We do have a question. How do we reiterate that this isn't going to make Marshall lose his job, but going to make his job easier? So Marshall James is he's still going to have the management of these systems. he's just going to, again, you can reiterate, he's now going to be able to have that one throat to choke, as we would say, and I actually hate that saying, but you have that one person to call. You don't have to worry about, oh geez, we have an outage in New York. Who's my partner in New York that I call? What's the phone number? And now searching around for it, right? So they're going to have that, speed dial, that one button speed dial that he can press. He can go in and have a simple view of his system and probably manage it himself more effectively than having to rely on someone else to do it.
And also, I'm sure Marshall has more things to worry about than every move, add, change, Mac change in his business. He'd rather be doing things like work on new applications that bring more value to the business and allows him more time to do so.
That's also going to make him look good, guys. If you are replacing systems and if he's pulling his hair out because there's major outages that are costing the firm money, because let's be real, law firms rely on billable hours and conversations and conference calls with their clients in order to make money. And he's going to alleviate that and mitigate the risk that they currently have. So it's actually going to benefit him. So user pain points. So if you're switching between applications, it's frustrating, distracting, time-consuming. This gives you one thing to look at. Like we said, if you're traveling from one office to the other because you have to go sit in on a case in another office, you're flying cross country, everything is right there. You know how to use everything. There's no training required. Every single person in the firm is on the same page. You all use the same tools, and you communicate the same way.
Absolutely. It also helps, as the last 4 minutes with traveling, that's very pertinent to the case study. And it helps with better collaboration because, as some of you may have already seen, when you have just a conference call, people don't pay attention.
Yeah.
Think about it when you're doing, distance learning. If you're not on video, you may be doing something else.
Krista actually is the prime example of this today, as are all of you out there. So we are able to, Krista is able to be working from home today, so we don't catch her cold that she has.
Yeah.
But it's really no different than if she was sitting next to us. We still have all the same communication tools in place. She can chime in when she wants to chime in. She can IM us if she has something to throw in there for a suggestion, and she's actually the one who is moving the slides and taking care of this call for us. Okay, so we're looking at the playbook that's actually on the website. So the key benefits of a cloud PBX and UC. So you have complete calling and collaboration solutions designed to reduce operational costs and improve productivity, meaning you're not dealing with downtime, so you're not losing billable hours, right? Everybody, training-wise, everybody knows how to use all the tools because they're all the same.
Yep.
You're looking at finance, all of the areas where it actually touches, where it's going to improve that are finance, IT, mobility, productivity. It talks to the key capabilities of Carousel Unite, so the playbook in there. By the way, the playbook that's on the website is actually the playbook that we use internally to train our salespeople on how to sell Unite.
Yep.
And it talks to the cloud and business benefits.
And definitely. Also, make sure you focus on the mobility piece of it. We got offices in New York, Chicago, and Boston. I'm sure they have many weather events where they can't make it into the office, but they still got to work with clients that are around the world that don't care it snowed in Boston. So they got to work securely from their house, and Unite would allow that.
Yep, good point. So I'm just going to make a big suggestion. Make sure you read that playbook and read it up, inside out, because it actually has a lot of good info in there. Now we're gonna get into a couple little suggestions, because like I said before, I'm overly impressed when you guys actually go into these competitions. It's very important in sales in general because you might be nervous, right? It's no different than when you guys are competing, but you might be nervous because you're meeting with a CIO or you're meeting with a partner in a law firm in this instance. To sit back and listen, take a breath. Think about don't reply instantly. Actually think through what their objection is and what the appropriate response is. You may have to ask more information to clarify what it is they're trying to get through. Don't be afraid of those awkward silences, because those are okay. That means that you're actually listening to what they're saying. And I think listening is the key.
When you're going to ask a hard question and they pause, don't follow right up. That silence is just as awkward for them as you. And most likely, they're going to want to end that silence before you do, and they'll answer your question.
Yeah.
So use your advantage.
Don't try to talk over your customer either. Let them. We always use the 80-20 rule here. The best thing that would happen is that you're asking the right questions, and you're getting the customer speaking, and they're speaking 80% of the time, and you're speaking 20% of the time. Don't stress. Keep calm.
Easy for us to say. We're not in front of us.
I know. But this goes for any customer meeting, right? You're talking to a human being. You're talking to somebody that you could be out in a bar later with having a cocktail. Yeah. They're normal people. They just have a job to do, and you're trying to help them do that job, and you're trying to help simplify their job and make their life a little bit better. Listen, 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 and take notes. One thing I noticed last year was some people took notes, and some people were able to go back and actually refer back to those questions throughout the conversation that you were having. You only have 10 minutes to get through this case study. So it's important that you actually come in and take notes and pay attention and say, okay, you mentioned this was a concern. Let's talk about that and actually talk through those concerns. But you don't want to forget to address something that they had because those are important to them. They wouldn't have brought them up in the conversation if they weren't. Clarify and ask questions from what you have heard. Whiteboarding exercise and refer back to your notes.
When you want to bring up a new point, if you refer back to something they told you and how that works in, it sticks very well with them, and it helps them connect the dots between what you're trying to sell them and what their needs are. So definitely clarifying, ask questions, and referring back is huge.
I think we're going to touch on this in another minute, but guys, here's the key to selling. If you know your customer, you can sell to them. If you don't know your customer, you're going to be trying to put a square peg in a round hole, right? So the best thing you can do is get to know your customer, because you will then be able to position your solution around what it is that they need.
Should we pause for questions? Any questions out there?
I think we're good, right? I think we're good right now. Let's just keep going. I'm just going to get through these last couple. Alternate between speakers. So this is when you have, I think later if you have, I think the last round, you might have someone with you. I might be mistaken, but yeah, let's talk to, if you have someone with you, like an SE or someone like sales engineer or something like that, if you bring in an expert to speak, you are going to alternate taking turns, just like Steve and I are doing today, right? And Chris is chiming in remotely, and we're actually speaking on her behalf, but she's IMing us. But you want to make sure that you actually communicate that and plan that ahead of time. You don't want to, like Steve and I went through some of these slides earlier, and we're just kind of playing off each other.
Exactly. You want to build off their conversations. You don't want to come off left field with the next question. So if you build off that, it becomes a fluid conversation. And it's a lot easier for the client to sort of paint the picture for themselves, so they're not being brought from one side to the next side, back and forth.
I know in my experience with my engineers, I always say that they're the real salespeople, because they go in and actually sell the solution, and we deal with the negotiating and the finance aspects of it. When you get to know somebody, I say your partner, right? Whoever you're selling with, you want to make sure that you can almost finish each other's sentences. You really need to go in as a team, because you have the same objective. And you want to actually pair off each other to ask those questions. If one isn't catching something, don't be afraid to go in and then say, you know what, I'm going to ask you another question because maybe I missed something. Bring use cases. So this is what we were talking about earlier. Yeah. So feel free you can check our website. Feel free to make something up that makes sense, obviously. Just do some research on them. And talk about your experience and customers that you've worked with, right? So In this instance, I may say, I have another similar, even if it's not a law firm, it can be another industry, but with a similar, maybe they have the same number of offices or the same issues where they've got, disparate employees or work from home employees, and it's just a similar solution.
Yeah, if you can tie it back to their needs, some with similar needs, that's all that matters. They don't care if it's a law firm down the street as long as it's a company with the same type of challenges.
Use professional language. It's always very nice to address someone by their name. You don't want to walk in and be too buddy-buddy with someone because you never know who you're speaking to. Like I said earlier, you may meet them in a bar later and have a drink with them. You may also find that the person is a little bit more rigid with how they present themselves and how they actually do business. They're going to expect a handshake. Be polite. Think of your manners. Please, thank you, and, feel free to bring a business card so they know how to get in touch with you after the fact.
Yeah, but you'll even find there's some people that don't even like being called by their first name. They're called sir. A lot down south. Kidding.
Yeah, we're not going to do that for them.
A lot of different people.
Don't man me. No, I do think it's very polite if you walk in and say, hi, so-and-so, because that shows that you actually know who you're meeting with. You've done your research, you know a little bit of background. Don't hesitate if you were in a real, scenario where you're going to do a little bit of research on LinkedIn and kind of look up what their experience is, because you may have a connection. You may find that, hey, I worked at the same company as you 5 years ago, and how do we not know each other? And again, that's another way to build rapport.
Definitely.
Enjoy the conversation. So this is going to be a little tough. It's going to be a challenge, but don't get so nervous. Remember, it's a conversation. Even the buyers that you're going to be sitting with from our team and from some other companies, they're real people, and they know that when they're sitting with their customers, that they're sitting with real people. Nobody wants to sit in a conversation where one person's uncomfortable. So just know that. Enjoy it. Take your time. I know that there's a 10-minute time limit. If you rehearse this ahead of time, you're going to have your questions that you go in with and that you can practice and take those notes in with you. And it's saying embrace their point of view. Listen. Again, if you know your customer and empathize with them, they have a challenge and they're willing to listen to how you can help them solve that challenge, but it's a large investment on their part. So make sure you actually embrace that and understand that this is a big commitment from them too.
I think the best advice I can give from this point is just be genuine. When you're genuine in front of the client, they enjoy the conversation, they enjoy your presence, and they trust you. And you can really build that rapport. So just be genuine.
Yeah. Are you going to be, there's a question out there, guys. I just want to catch this one real quick. Are we going to be told who our interviewers will be ahead of time? Meaning, I'm assuming you mean your buyers, your customers. No. So you will not have that ahead of time. But again, they're posing as a customer, so they're not going to be their own personal self during this. So you are actually, ahead of time, they're posing as the people in the case study. So it's either going to be Marshall James. I think the last one is Michelle Grandy. So and then we've got Austin McCormick as well. So those people are actually they're listed right in the case study, so you'll know, and they're going to be posing as those people in the case study. They are not real people, so don't try to research who they are.
You're not going to find them.
You won't find them. So, but again, it's okay to throw some little fun things in there, like, hey, I see you did this, and I met so and so at a networking event, and that's how that's how Marshall James brought me into this meeting, because I forget who it was. Was it Caroline Sauer?
Yeah, it was Caroline Sauer.
Yeah, so Caroline Sauer is actually the one at the networking event that you went to school with. And you're going to make that connection to build rapport. Who else are they considering? Well, in this instance, I think it's really going to be between, since this is very specific to Carousel Unite, yep. I think it's really going to be between, they can look at, let's just say on-prem, there's other solutions out there that they yep. could go with. The focus is to really differentiate Carousel with the fact that we can provide this cloud offering. It's going to give them the OpEx versus CapEx model.
Really focus on the Carousel value add.
Yeah.
Because when it comes down to it, cloud models, There are differences in features and functionality. There are differences a little bit in the financial models. But overall, it's really, do you trust having this company handle your voice needs?
Right, and they can look at other solutions, like we said. They can look at more on-prem solutions. It's not going to solve the issues that they put in front of us with having disparate systems, having multiple contracts, things like that. That's where Carousel Unite would come in. I have a question for the overall scoring of the competition. How will the scoring system work between speed selling and the role plays? That, I think, Dr. Boyer, that's not something that Steve or I could actually address.
I've not seen it yet.
I'm not sure if that's something that Bryant puts out, but Stephanie, I'm not sure if you're able to address that one as a scoring question.
Hey, can everybody see me? Oh, wait, here I am. Okay.
We can hear you. There you are.
Sorry. Yeah, so if anything related to the competition on the NISC website under competition, all the materials are posted up there. And so you can see the judging rubric, you can see the judging forms and the instructions. So all of that stuff is there. You can just download it. And then that's a completely, none of the competitions are added together. So everything's a separate item. And each person will go to 3 different tables to do their scoring, and they're scored on 10 different criteria. So it's a separate thing, and there's 10 criteria. You could just download that right from the website.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.
And then we have the price comes last. You never want to bring up pricing in the beginning of a conversation because that may end your conversation pretty quickly.
To be honest, if you're having the pricing conversation up front, you've already lost the deal.
Yeah. That means that they're going to be focused strictly on the number versus the value sell, which is what we're trying to get you to bring to this. We want you to sell Carousel and the services that we offer versus how much it costs. The pricing should really only come into play in that last round, which is the finals. And that's where it's actually provided for you. Before that, there's still conversations that need to happen, why this is the right solution for them, how it's going to solve the issues that they currently have. So some common objections that we run into are, I just purchased a new PBX. We know that isn't the case here because they're pretty outdated, right? I prefer a CapEx model. Can we do that? Sure. You can absolutely have that conversation with the customer and say, yeah, we can give you a CapEx model. We can bring you into a solution very similar to what you have today, but you still have those same risks that you're running with today versus going to a cloud-type solution.
Definitely. Cloud does fit their business model a lot better.
And that's the next one. You mentioned a good response to this one earlier. So I don't trust cloud service.
When it comes down to it, cloud services, they're already using them today. Anybody has apps, those are cloud services. Anybody using Netflix, HBO Go, those are all cloud services. So bring up those types of things, and it usually breaks down this wall pretty quickly. And they ask, I don't trust cloud services, ask them why.
Yeah. Yeah.
They always ask them why, understand what it is. Were they burned by a cloud service in the past? Or do they just believe that it's not something that's reliable? I don't know, but you'll have to ask that question, why? And
if they do come back with something like it's not reliable, well, that's where you refer back to some of the things that they're already using and that we can actually show them the reliability. And there's service level agreements in place. There's contracts in place that will guarantee them that reliability. I don't have a LAN, which, by the way, stands for Local Area Network. I have a wireless LAN. So your wireless LAN, I don't know that this will come up too often, but your wireless LAN actually runs over your LAN. So your Wi-Fi, which is what that wireless local area network is, runs over your local area network. It still has to plug into your physical local area network.
Yep.
Okay, so they do have it, they just don't realize it. I just bought a business communication solution. This is the prime example to say, interesting, because you walk me through that a little bit and let me know what you purchased, because I'd love to see how if it would integrate, if it's a similar solution or.
And also understand why they purchased the solution they did. good insight into what their business or buying criteria are. Did they purchase the Cadillac of systems, or they purchase, the low rate, used model?
Yeah. I'm looking for the lowest price. I need specific proprietary service. Again, all of these, the key here is ask questions. Understand what it is that they are talking to you about, and then tie it back to something you may have already stated earlier with what Carousel can bring to the table.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many times customers are like, "Oh, we need a lot of integrations." Then you ask them what integration you actually need, and it's a basic, plug into their Outlook that everybody has. But they think it's something advanced.
Yeah.
So always ask why. You need to understand the motivation behind every question to really give a good response.
I think one thing I is noticeable here is that because of technology that you're selling, typically the person who's signing off is the chief information officer or someone along those lines. Your finals are actually with a partner in a law firm, an attorney. So they may not be as technologically savvy as a CIO would be in a Fortune 500 company. So just be aware of that and be able to simplify things in how you're speaking. You don't need to be overly technical because that's not what it's all about. It's about selling the solution.
Yep. Even just go off that point, just say Austin McCormick, just because his title is VP of IT, he may not be the incredibly technical one.
Right.
He could be very good on the business side. And that's why he has, Marshall James to handle all the deep technical stuff. So understand who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Meet their level of their technical expertise at your level, or their business acumen, your business acumen.
You're going to get that through the feedback that by listening to your customer. You may notice that your first round has more of those technical questions versus your second round, but really this is about the benefits and the value sell that Carousel can bring to the table with this solution and how it can resolve the issues that they're having. And good luck. I guess that's the end of it. So we didn't want to, it's like PowerPoint, death by PowerPoint.
Still got about 5 minutes. Any last questions?
Yeah, do you guys have any more questions? Again, I'm so excited to see these actually happen because you guys blow me away. It's so impressive to see what you do. And we actually, by the way, we use these role plays internally here for training our own teams. So this is one that we used recently with a competition, and we actually used the same scoring model that NIST uses, that Bryant uses for this competition for our own inside sales team when we were trying to get them up to speed on how to have those conversations.
Exactly.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Looks like we have a couple questions. What would you say the central value proposition of Carousel? Service? Service is definitely a big one. I think it's also our resources that you have access to.
A consultative approach.
Yeah. So we really sit down with our customers to understand, like Steve was just saying, we take a consultative approach. We want to go in and say, okay, we sell a lot here at Carousel. We don't just sell one thing where we're going to try to make it fit, right? We're going to force feed it. That's not how we work. We actually come in and we want to understand your business. We want to understand your pain points. We want to understand what are your objectives and your initiatives for the next 3 to 5 years, because we want to make sure that we're aligned with those, that we actually find a solution that's aligned with those. We also want to make sure it's cost effective for you. But on top of that, we have our services, absolutely, that's a huge sell for us because we do have our NOC that's there for our customers, but also our resources. Like we said, we are at 60% of our company is support and engineering focused, meaning we're not just a bunch of salespeople going out to sell something and then have nothing to back it up for day 2. So it's great that we can go out and sell a solution and then we can't do anything with it after the fact. You're making the customer is making a huge investment with us. We want to make sure that we keep them happy because this is not the only thing that we sell. The goal is that we're going to what we call sell the full stack. This might be our first opportunity, but there's definitely more opportunities within AGW for other technology that Carousel could be selling and helping them with.
Definitely. Another thing that Carousel focuses on, it's not just what do they need, but it's how could they get it.
Right.
We use the word how can they consume it. So, yes, they need a phone system. They need a communication platform. They can go out and buy any on-prem solution or go to, any cloud manufacturer and just get a solution. But Carousel comes in there. We understand what their business needs are, what their challenges are. From there, we'll go back into our portfolio of products we have at our disposal, figure out which one works best for their business, their challenges they have, and then from there we take it to what's the best way to consume it. Is this customer type one that wants to do a CapEx model and buy out a phone system and have it over the next 10 years or whatever? Or are they the type of customer where they want to consume it as they need it, do a cloud model? And that's another value that Carousel brings to play. We can provide those options, those solutions, and then, as Michelle mentioned, maintain it on the back end. There's a lot of customers that sell it, and that's the last time they ever hear from them. Yeah. In Carousel, you have a team behind you, going from your account rep that you initially start talking to, their inside sales rep, to their engineer, to back-end service support, project management, as well as all the people behind them, like our techs in the field, you name it. That's really where the value comes in.
Yeah, we did have one other question, and feel free to shoot a couple more. We have a couple more minutes here, but someone asked if you have other questions later on, is it something that you could reach out to us to get answers to? We actually try to keep it fair for all of the parties that are involved in this competition. So what we do is we are going to have another call on the 21st, very similar to this one. We'll just review some other topics, but we'll do another, just like we did at the beginning of this call, we're going to go back through what we went through, a quick brief on what we talked about today, and then you guys will have the opportunity to ask any questions during that one as well. Okay, that way everyone has the opportunity to hear the answers, and we record everything and it keeps it fair. Okay, because we're going to post this right on the website for anyone that wasn't able to make it to here. All right, you guys have any other questions?
One more.
All right. Looks like we're good. I can't wait we're going to talk to you again on the 21st, but I can't wait to meet all of you.
Definitely, I can't wait to see this competition. Heard a lot about it.
And then we're going to have our team with us, so we're excited. So, I wish you all the best of luck if we don't get to talk to you on our next call. And if not, we'll see you at the end of the month.
Definitely. Thank you all for joining.
Have a great day, everyone. And thank you, Krista.
Thank you, Krista.